Have you ever felt like you're kind of stuck, stuck in like a giant game, but it's rigged against you? We're hit with all these ads, like bombarded, telling us what to buy, what we need. And then social media, drowning in notifications. It's always like, gotta have the newest thing, gotta get it. They promise happiness. Makes you wonder, right? What if this whole reality, what if it's all just like a big illusion?
That feeling, yeah. That resonates actually with an idea, concept from Eastern philosophy. It's called Maya. Really central to both Hinduism and Buddhism.
Maya, huh? Sounds kind of, well, intriguing. Can you break that down for me? Like, what does it actually mean? How does it connect to this feeling of, being stuck in that rigged game?
The word itself, Maya, comes from Sanskrit. Refers to illusion, delusion even.
Yeah.
It suggests that, like, the world we see, the stuff we touch, the material world, it might not be the ultimate reality.
Oh, I see. So not like denying the physical world, right? But more like, is the way we see it, the value we give this stuff, is that what's misleading us?
Exactly. What's really interesting is how this ancient idea, this Maya, it kind of intersects with modern psychology and social theory. Like, for example, the illusory truth effect.
Illusory truth effect.
Yes, studies have shown this. The more we hear something, even if it's not true, the more likely we are to believe it. Kind of fits with all the advertising we're exposed to, right? Shapes what we want, what we think is important.
That's kind of unsettling. Like our brains are being tricked by just hearing something over and over. Wasn't there like a philosopher who talked about how the people in power, how they influence what we think is true? Does that tie into Maya too?
You're thinking of Michel Foucault. He argued that, knowledge isn't neutral. It's tied to power structures. So the truths, what we accept as true, it's often shaped by those in power, those who control the narratives we see and hear. That's another layer to Maya, right? Even facts, maybe they're just a product of social influence.
So we got Maya saying, like, our perception of this material world, it might all be an illusion. And then this illusory truth effect, plus Foucault's ideas, they're showing how outside forces are, like, shaping what we believe is true. Put it all together, and yeah, it really does look like we might be caught in a system that's not what it seems. Our source material, it actually asks, could our tangible surroundings be tricking us into believing they hold the key to happiness? Really makes you think, are things like possessions and status, are they tricking us?
And that question, it's been explored a lot by tons of thinkers. Karl Marx, for instance, his critique of capitalism, the system, well, many of us live in, it focuses on this idea of alienation. He argued that capitalism, it like separates us from ourselves or work, even from each other. It pushes this like constant chase for wealth, for more stuff. But that chase, it often leaves people feeling empty, disconnected.
I can see that. It's like you finally get that new gadget or that big promotion. You've been working towards it, right? But the excitement, it fades. And then you're left thinking, what now? It's like real lasting happiness. It's got to be more than just getting things.
Exactly. That feeling you're describing, that's connected to what's called the hedonic treadmill. It suggests that we adapt really quickly to any improvements in our material situation. Just a temporary bump in happiness, then we go right back to where we were before. Like running on a treadmill, constantly chasing satisfaction, but never actually getting there.
So we chase material wealth thinking it'll bring happiness, but we just adapt to it and then the cycle repeats. Are there other ways, other examples of how we might be, tricked by the things around us?
Definitely. Another good perspective comes from Thorstein Veblen. He coined the term conspicuous consumption.
Conspicuous consumption. That sounds,
He noticed that a lot of what we buy, it's not because we really need it. It's because we want to show off our wealth, our social status, signaling to everyone that we've made it, even if those things don't actually fulfill us.
It's like we're trapped. The system tells us we need all this stuff to be happy, but then the stuff itself doesn't make us happy, and the cycle just keeps going.
And it's a cycle, really, fueled by this whole consumer culture thing.
Yeah.
Constantly telling us happiness, it's just a purchase away. Which, brings us to another idea, hyperreality.
Hyperreality. Okay, that's it's definitely a term that makes you think. But how does hyperreality actually play out in our lives, like day to day?
Think about advertising. We're constantly seeing images, slogans. They link products to feelings, right? Confidence, love, belonging, success even. We start to believe that owning a certain car, wearing the certain brand, it'll somehow, make us more desirable, more fulfilled.
So it's like they're selling us a lifestyle, this perfect image, which, let's be honest, it's probably not even real. And speaking of fake realities, manufactured stuff, it feels like social media takes this to a whole new level. it's all curated lives, standards that are impossible to reach.
Oh, definitely. Social media, it's amplified all the things we've been talking about. It shows this distorted view of reality. Everyone's living their best life, right? Just the highlights. And that can lead to, feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
And that fear of missing out, FOMO, as they call it.
Oh, FOMO's real, for sure. Especially when you're scrolling through those feeds, right? Perfect vacations, fancy stuff, everyone's achieving all these things. It's so easy to compare yourself and feel like you're not good enough.
And then the algorithms, those things that power those platforms, they actually make it worse, creating these echo chambers where we only see information, opinions that already agree with what we believe. So instead of being challenged, our biases, they just get stronger.
Trapped in our own little bubbles, huh? Anything that might, shake up our worldview. Nah, we don't see it. We've been talking a lot about the problems, though. Maya, consumerism, social media. It's getting kind of heavy. Is there any way out? Can we break free from all these illusions?
Absolutely. The good news is we have the power. We can choose how we see things, what we let influence us. First, we got to become aware of the forces at play, right?
Yeah.
And then we can explore practices that can help us connect with something, a deeper truth, and that's within us.
That sounds good. But how do we actually do that? Where do we even begin?
Well, one practice, it's really powerful. It's rooted in, ancient wisdom, but it's also backed up by science now. Mindfulness meditation.
Mindfulness. I've heard of it, of course. But I always thought it was, kind of trendy. You mentioned ancient wisdom. What's the connection there?
It comes from Buddhist traditions. In those traditions, mindfulness is central, like on the path to enlightenment. But what's really cool is neuroscience is now showing the benefits. Studies have shown that if you practice mindfulness regularly, it can actually change your brain structure.
So it's not just about feeling calmer. It's like literally rewiring our brains to be less reactive to all that pressure, all those manipulations we talked about.
Exactly. It's building this mental muscle,
Yeah.
You learn to pause before you react. You observe your thoughts and feelings, but you don't get swept away by them. Really helpful when you're constantly being told to buy this, be like that, achieve this, otherwise you'll never be happy, right? Mindfulness, it creates space between those messages and how we react so we can make better choices.
That makes sense. But what about those of us who, maybe aren't ready to meditate for hours? Anything else we can do in our daily lives?
Oh, for sure. Even something as simple as journaling can be super helpful. It's a way to get all those thoughts and feelings out of your head and onto paper. Helps you see things more clearly. You start to notice patterns in your thinking, your behavior. You figure out, are these beliefs really mine? Or did I pick them up from somewhere else?
Like a mental detox, right? Clearing out all the junk from consumerism and social media.
Exactly. And if there are deeper beliefs, thought patterns that are holding you back, then there's therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
CBT, okay.
It helps you spot those distorted thoughts, challenge them, and replace them with, more realistic, more empowering ones.
So we've got mindfulness, journaling, therapy. Seems like a lot of different ways to take back control of our inner world.
It's about being active, not just passively accepting the illusions that we're fed. And that's where the idea of spiritual communities comes in. The source material talks about how important it is to connect with others who are, on the same journey, looking for truth beyond just the material world.
So we don't have to figure all this out on our own.
Not at all. There's a lot of strength in connecting with people who get it. Spiritual communities, no matter what the specific beliefs are, they offer this space, right? To share wisdom, to keep each other accountable, and to guide each other. You can learn from everyone's experiences, get support when things are tough, and celebrate the growth you're all making.
Like a support group for people trying to escape the matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned rituals earlier. In these communities, can you say more about that? What role do rituals play?
Well, you said it yourself, right? Rituals can be grounding. Especially now when things feel so chaotic. They give structure, connection, a sense of purpose. And, even consumer culture has its own rituals. Black Friday shopping, the pressure to always upgrade your phone.
Right. Like we're following a consumerist religion without even realizing it.
Exactly.
But spiritual communities, they offer something different. Their rituals are about connecting with something deeper, shifting our focus away from always getting more stuff. It becomes about gratitude, compassion, self-reflection, connecting with something bigger than ourselves.
So it's not just the individual stuff like meditating or writing in a journal. It's also about finding your people who share your values, your goals. That sense of community, it's like an antidote to all the isolation and alienation we've been talking about.
It's about remembering that, hey, we're not alone in this. We're all dealing with these things. Finding a community, a place that supports you, encourages you to live authentically, that can make all the difference.
It really is, it's kind of encouraging,
Yeah.
knowing that even with all these illusions, all this pressure, there's still a way to, I don't know, live a more real life, more meaningful. So as we wrap up this whole deep dive into Maya, this illusion of the material world, what are like some key things you'd want our listeners to take away?
I think the most important thing is we always have a choice. We don't have to just accept whatever reality is being thrown at us. We can question, we can push back, and in the end, we can create our own reality, one based on what actually matters to us.
Yeah, that's powerful. But how do we actually do that? Start making those choices, I mean. Where do we even begin?
It starts with, well, awareness. Just pay attention. Notice the messages you're getting. Could be from advertising, social media, even just like what society expects of us.
Hmm.
And ask yourself, does this really fit with what I believe? What's important to me? Or am I just buying into someone else's idea?
So being a conscious consumer, right? Not just with stuff we buy, but with information, ideas, all of it. Like that mental detox we talked about. Clearing out the junk so we can see what's really there.
Yeah, exactly. And once you've started clearing things out, then you can try those practices we talked about. Mindfulness, journaling, finding a spiritual community. It's about, those small efforts, but doing them consistently. Shifting your attention inward. Connecting with, well, that deeper truth. The one that's always been inside you.
Sounds like it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
No quick fix for escaping the illusion, huh?
It's like waking up. But it happens over time. And the more you work on that awareness, the more you start to see the world differently. You won't be so influenced by outside pressures. You'll be more grounded in your own values. And ultimately, I think, more fulfilled.
So it's not about like rejecting the whole material world, is it? It's finding a healthier way to be in it.
Right. Recognizing that real happiness, true fulfillment, it comes from within, not from things. And once you get that, the material world, it can actually become a source of joy, wonder even, not just stress and dissatisfaction.
It's funny, we started this whole deep dive feeling kind of scammed, but now it feels more like, hey, we can change the rules of the game.
That's what's so cool about Maya. It's not about like giving up or despair. It's realizing that we have a choice. Do we see the world through this lens of illusion, or do we choose to see the truth?
A big shift in perspective for sure. So as we wrap things up, what's the final thought you'd leave our listeners with?
Now that you've had this glimpse, this peek behind the curtain of Maya, the question is, what will you choose? What's real in your life? What truly matters? What brings you joy? Makes you feel fulfilled? Focus on those things. Cultivate them. And, don't be afraid to question everything else.
What a great way to put it. Create a reality that matches what we truly value. Thanks for taking us on this journey. It's been, well, really insightful.
My pleasure. And remember, discovering yourself, it's an ongoing thing. So keep questioning, keep searching, keep choosing the truth.